High stakes, heart-pounding moments, pressure like you wouldn't believe, almost flops, and moments that I will always remember. This is the Nick Solomon Show, the Sports Strata Podcast. Let's get it started.
Spence to scores! Watford for the win! You can't make this stuff up, folks.
That old young guy should really take back and look at what this man has done.
Welcome in, everyone, to episode 12 of the Nick Solomon Show, the Sports Strata Podcast. And this is a special Super Bowl preview episode. And just like that, the NFL season is almost over. Just like yesterday, it feels like the season just kicked off with the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions on Thursday Night Football. And now that the finish line is basically almost here, it's a very sad moment. But we're not there yet. There's one more game left. And that is Super Bowl 58. We have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers. And the Chiefs come into the Super Bowl as the 3 seed out of the AFC, first in the AFC West Division, with an 11-6 record. Their road to the Super Bowl consists of beating the Miami Dolphins at home in the wild card round, the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round in a very, very entertaining and heartbreaking game for the Bills, but the Kansas City Chiefs proved that they could win on the road. And then going into Baltimore and beating the Ravens in the championship round on their way to their 4th Super Bowl in 5 years. On the other side, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and they're making their way to the Super Bowl as the number 1 seed in NFC. They're the number 1 team in the NFC West with a 12-5 record. Their road to the Super Bowl consisted of beating the Green Bay Packers in the divisional round at home and then beating the Detroit Lions in a thrilling comeback fashion in an NFC title game. Now, I will say, comparing the two playoff resumes, the Chiefs have earned their way to the Super Bowl. The 49ers were kind of lucky. Both of their games, they were behind by more than double digits, and they made fourth quarter comebacks and ended up winning both of their games in the playoffs. So who is the hotter team? I would say that's the Kansas City Chiefs. But who has the better players and who's going to end up winning the Super Bowl? Just stay tuned because that's coming at the end of the show here. But I do want to talk about some of the significant storylines heading into this game. And one of the ones that pops off at the top is that this is actually a rematch of Super Bowl 54. Back in 2020, the Chiefs played the 49ers. This was at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami, and the Chiefs won 31-20. It was led by a heroic fourth quarter comeback by the Chiefs. The Chiefs were down 20-10 at the start of the fourth quarter, and they ended up scoring 21 straight points and pulled off one of the most thrilling fourth quarters you might see in a Super Bowl. Watching that game, the 49ers had that game. It was absolutely a collapse by the 49ers, both offense and defense. You're up 20-10 just about at the start of the fourth quarter, 21 straight points. I had San Francisco winning that game, that Super Bowl 54, and I felt pretty good for 90% of that game. But you got to play the full 100. But I do want to say sort of why does that relate? Well, it relates in this way. I do want to first start off by saying that in that game, in that matchup of Super Bowl 54, you had some familiar faces that you're going to see this Sunday. For the Chiefs, you had Patrick Mahomes, you have Travis Kelce, you have Chris Jones on defense. And then for San Francisco, you have Deebo Samuel, you have Nick Bosa, you have Eric Armstead, Kyle Juszczyk, and both of the head coaches as well. But back in Super Bowl 54, Kansas City had some of the players as the likes of Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. On defense, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark. Now the Chiefs have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, rookie Richie Rice, George Karlaftis. In comparison, the 49ers now have some of the likes of an older, more experienced Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey at running back, Brandon Ayuk, Fred Warner, Chase Young, Javon Hargrave. If you're comparing Super Bowl 54 to Super Bowl 58, in Super Bowl 54, the Chiefs had the better skilled players all around compared to the 49ers. In Super Bowl 58, it's like a role reversal. The 49ers are absolutely stacked across the deck here. From skill positions to the offensive line, defensive line. Right now the 49ers, they're probably one of the best rosters in all of the NFL. The Chiefs, I've taken it back. They've lost a lot of those good skill players. A lot of those individual great pieces that they had on defense. Having said that, the reason why the Chiefs are here right now is because they have one of the hottest defenses in NFL. Their defense was the top 5 defense, actually the number 2 defense the whole entire year. I think we've been waiting for Kansas City to have such a strong defense because since Patrick Mahomes has been their quarterback, he's been their team. They really didn't have that great of a defense since he's been a starter. But this year, they were primarily led by their defense. Like I mentioned earlier, you have the 2 similar head coaches, in Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers and Andy Reid with the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a battle of offensive minds. Kyle Shanahan is with his 7th season. This is his 2nd Super Bowl appearance. He's been to 4 NFC Championship games. And he's honestly considered one of the greatest offensive coaches of this generation. Without a doubt. However, his last 2 Super Bowl appearances have been huge collapses. I just mentioned what happened in Super Bowl 54. They were up 20-10 about the start of the 4th quarter. And then while he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons in I think it was the 2018 Super Bowl, 2019 Super Bowl, he had a 28-3 lead midway through the 3rd quarter and lost 37-31 in overtime. That was a Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator-led team. He called the plays for the offense. Dan Quinn was the head coach for the Atlanta at that time, but he was primarily calling plays for the defense. That was Kyle Shanahan's offense. And they decided to continue to throw the ball. So, as great of an offensive mind Kyle Shanahan is, he's been questionable in his last 2 Super Bowls. He's had leads his past 2 Super Bowl appearances and have come up short. Big collapses. Andy Reid, on the other hand, he's only now the 4th coach in NFL history to reach the Super Bowl 5 times, joining the ranks of Bill Belichick, Don Shula, and Tom Landry. The biggest thing is he has number 15 there. And he's been to this stage quite a few times. Even when he was with the Eagles, they advanced pretty far and even went to the Super Bowl as well. As I mentioned with Patrick Mahomes, San Francisco, their quarterback is Brock Purdy. This is Purdy versus Mahomes. This is Brock Purdy's first Super Bowl appearance. This is Patrick Mahomes' fourth. Who has the biggest gain from a win in the Super Bowl? That's a really hard question. Why did I ask myself this? On one hand, you have Brock Purdy, who is the last pick in the draft in the 2022 NFL Draft. He's essentially Mr. Irrelevant. A Super Bowl win for him would be an unbelievable story. I mean, that stuff that you see in ESPN 30 for 30 over, that you see someone making a movie over. It's very similar to like a Kirk Cousins scenario, who was bagging groceries and became the St. Louis Rams starting quarterback, and bam, they won the Super Bowl that same year. Brock Purdy was just the last pick in the draft. I think it was the third string. Yeah, he was the third quarterback on the depth chart behind Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Through injuries and opportunity, he got the reins. Boom, here they are. Very easily could have gone to the Super Bowl last year had he not torn his, I think it was his UCL in his elbow during the NFC Championship game versus the Eagles. Very high likely chance that this would be a second one. But alas, this is his first one. And to be able to write a story of last pick in the NFL draft just 2 years ago to Super Bowl champion, I mean that just gives you chills. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, I mean, he's chasing legacy. His own personal narrative and story is sort of written in stone already. I think if he retired tomorrow after this, or retired after the Super Bowl, win or loss, he would go down as a first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's chasing greatness. He's chasing Tom Brady. A win on Sunday will put him one step closer to becoming the greatest of all time. You know, for me, it's not all about championships. It's about being clutch, championships, stats, the eye test, all of that. That is Tom Brady. As much as I hate Tom Brady, I do respect him. And I do fear him. That's why he's the greatest to me. Patrick Mahomes is chasing that. And he's on the right path. I mean, if he continues to go, he will be there. And he very well could surpass it, but he hasn't surpassed Tom Brady. A win for him puts him one step closer. A win for him gives him 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. Or 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. I mean, that's an impressive feat. That's something Tom Brady has done. So, and another MVP would just add to his mantle as well. Where if he got an MVP as well in the Super Bowl, that'd be 3. That'd be 3. So I think the biggest to gain from a win would honestly be Patrick Mahomes. Because, I mean, Brock Purdy, there's nothing wrong with losing your first Super Bowl. Many quarterbacks have won multiple Super Bowls and lost multiple Super Bowls. Tom Brady is in that category. Peyton Manning is in that category. John Elway is in that category. There's plenty of time, but for Patrick Mahomes, especially the narrative of winning back-to-back Super Bowls, which hasn't been done since the Tom Brady-led New England Patriots back in 2003, 2004. I mean, he has a chance to not necessarily change the conversation, because he's already the greatest quarterback right now in the NFL, and for years to come. I mean, hands down. No one's coming close to Patrick Mahomes. So he has a chance to rewrite those of his predecessors. You know, the Joe Montanas of the world and the Tom Bradys. That's who he's after. So a win for him will absolutely elevate and catapult him, maybe in the discussion of Joe Montana, maybe passing him. So at the end of the day, what is my Super Bowl prediction? And I've gone back and forth on this. San Francisco is absolutely loaded, but Kansas City has number 15, who's been there and done that, who's as clutch as can be, who can game manage, and who can blow the game wide open. Having said that, I have San Francisco winning 27-17. I just think overall, I mean, Kansas City is a better quarterback. Between the two teams, Kansas City has a better coach. Between the two teams, Kansas City has probably the single greatest player, pass catcher, in Travis Kelce. But there's a lot to be said about the depth and the amount of talent that San Francisco has on their team. I mean, across the board, wide receivers, depth on the defensive line, their offensive line, their skill positions, their defensive backs. I will say, if it does come down to special teams, Kansas City does have the edge in that department. San Francisco has a rookie kicker. That could loom large. It very well could be. It's a rookie kicker in the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. Having said that, I saw San Francisco winning just because they have more talent. In the NBA, you could get away with having, 2 or 3 of the best players overall. In the NFL, if you have the majority of the talent, you're going to win. I can definitely see Kansas City jumping out early. I can see it being 10-3 or 10-7 early. But San Francisco is just going to keep on wearing them down. Just they have more playmakers, and in the day, that's what it's going to come down to, is which team has more playmakers to me, and that would be San Francisco. Well, guys, that is my Super Bowl preview. I look forward to watching the Super Bowl on Sunday. I'm sure it'll get a lot of ratings considering the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce connections. I mean, people are just going to want to tune in just to see that, I'm sure. Will there be a halftime surprise by Taylor Swift? Ooh, it's a wait and see type of thing. I wouldn't be shocked. That's kind of why I really wish Detroit would have won, because you could have a Taylor Swift versus Eminem sort of halftime battle with Usher. That would have been epic. But alas, we have San Francisco. So I am looking forward to the Usher halftime performance. I think that will be fantastic. And just looking for fireworks to conclude the 2023-2024 NFL season. I'll check back with you guys next time. Thanks for watching. See ya.